Welcome to In Sequence, a comics podcast for everyone. I'm Scout, and I am joined today by my fellow panelist, Matt. Hi, Matt.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing good. It's the duo, the dynamic duo back again. The last time it was just the two of us was...
The Department of Truth.
Thank you. No vomit in this one.
No vomit in this one. In fact, when I went to check our individual DMs, that was the last thing that we were talking about. There's a lot of really great art in our DMs from that conversation.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. I was showing you Lion Decker. Wow, yeah. Good times. Today, we are discussing KOH-BOKU. This is written and illustrated by Sonoo Michiru, originally published by Compass Incorporated in Japan. The English edition is published by Futekiya, which is an imprint of Manga Planet. The official English translation is by Day Bulger, with lettering by Ivan Havrilenko. It is only available to purchase physically in the US through Kinokuniya.
And is not available as an ebook currently.
No, it used to be.
From Manga Planet, but Manga Planet, the app shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the person who only speaks and reads English and lives in Bogota, Colombia, I had to use illicit means to get this book. But that is luckily something that I'm good at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's unfortunately tougher to find than I had expected it to be when I heard that it was getting a full English release. I was like, oh, okay, it will be available at bookstores. No.
At bookstore, Kinokuniya.
At one bookstore, Kinokuniya. Quick spoiler-free plot summary. Kyu Imamiya is a civil servant employed by the Japanese government in business and economy regulation. Severely overworked and willfully neglecting his personal health in favor of his job, he is often rescued by the persistent support of Tasuku Kashiwagi, his direct subordinate. In between meetings, political loop-de-loops, and a particularly dire health crisis related to Kyu's weak heart, the two grow ever closer in a cut-and-dry example of Old Man Yaoi.
This is the Old Man Yaoi, which I was not aware of when you originally introduced KOH-BOKU to us.
Yes, this is, I don't know if it's not, I wouldn't call it the originator of Old Man Yaoi, but Sonoo Michiru became very popular in, I think especially with American fans, when they connected with her via Twitter and taught her the phrase Old Man Yaoi. And she was so delighted by that then she began to say, like, I love this. I'm so happy that Old Man Yaoi exists and that I write Old Man Yaoi and that my American fans, my foreign fans enjoy Old Man Yaoi. And that's something that I love. This is my short read recommendation for us from our Christmas Carol episode. And it is very much, when you dip your toe into yaoi, short form yaoi, this is like cut and dry what you're going to get most of the time with most of the things you click on, I would say, except for a few things that are different that I really like. But I want to get right into our notes because I know that you felt that way and it was a big detractor for you.
Yeah, I felt, honestly, I was like, maybe a couple chapters in, and I was like, oh, I feel so bad for Scout. Because this is everything I dislike about yaoi. It is extremely cut and dry, like yaoi manga, and it exists within and around the typical tropes of like a salaryman yaoi story. And I don't love those tropes. Or I love when a book can have some meat around like those particular bones. And I feel like KOH-BOKU, my main takeaway from it is that it kind of is the skeleton of a yaoi that like just needs a little bit more for me to latch onto.
Yeah. I think we share pretty much exactly the same take on it. It's just that I come away from it a little bit more affectionate towards some of the stuff that it's doing. And generally I was really excited to get some Sonoo Michiru on the show in general. As a quick breakdown, we've gone over yaoi before, but a quick breakdown of the phrase Old Man Yaoi for the listener who may never have heard it before. Yaoi, of course, is the term used for gay fiction, specifically masculine manga. There's a whole genre around this. It has a very long storied history that goes into the history of fandom and fangirls, specifically, I would say, plays a big part in it. It is often fan works around pre-existing characters, but it's also often original stuff. Old Man Yaoi it's actually it's a little bit of a misnomer to call it Old Man Yaoi, because I would say the majority of what I see is actually middle-aged Man Yaoi. It's guys that are like in their 40s and 50s. But Old Man Yaoi rolls off the tongue so well, and yes. Middle-aged Man Yaoi is nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny too, because in so many of these books, usually there is a younger character and an older character, and the older character is often talking about how old they are constantly. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, dude, you look like my husband. And we are not that old yet. Calm down.
It doesn't help that often they are just like very much drawn, beautiful men, no wrinkles, no facial.
Unless they really need to show off how old they're feeling in a particular panel, they are usually like gorgeous, very fit, active men.
Yes. I do think it's also worth noting, just sort of talking about how you called it the skeleton of a yaoi, is that this was also Sonoo Michiru's first manga. And she's actually a lot newer to the scene than I had realized, because this originally came out in 2022. So sort of very new as far as a mangaka goes, but has certainly left her mark, I think, because she has a very specific style and a very specific niche that she likes to fill. But I think that this definitely feels like a first outing.
Yeah, I didn't know that. And that really explains a lot of my feelings on the book. It definitely reads as a book, now that I know that, as it reads as something that is written by a fan of the genre.
Yeah, why don't we talk a little bit about the tropes and the things that you aren't as big a fan on, because I think we share similar feelings, because there's a lot of tropes that are used here that I think it really hampers it, and it doesn't need them and would be better without them. So I'll talk a little bit about the history of tropes in this genre and what they are.
Yeah, I mentioned the older younger thing, but often what that leads to is a power dynamic between the characters that sometimes, like, I'm not here to tell you can't write stuff because it has like weird problematic implications. Like those are useful stories and interesting stories, and that's fine. But I think that the story sort of relies on those power dynamics in a way that doesn't scandalize me. It just makes me bored.
Yeah, it's not a particularly interesting thing to see, especially when you've seen it many, many times.
Yeah, exactly. This whole like, I work for you, but actually I'm interested in you is a pretty common, especially in this like subgenre of salaryman kind of yaoi BL. There's also, and this happens in like romance manga, like period, like across the board. There's this thing where they have literally already kissed and slept together. Like, and in this case of this story, like they literally only slept together. They did not have sex. And then they go to work the next day and are acting like they don't know if the other one is into them. That happens specifically in romance manga all the time, and is a thing that I'm like, oh my God, can I just skip to the next chapter where you guys actually have sex and just admit that you're into each other? Like, let's move on to the next problem. We did this problem for 2 chapters. I want to skip the one chapter where we've already slept together and now we're not sure. And like, this is a reason that like people love the book Given. Have you read Given?
I have read Given.
Okay. A reason I could not get into it, and I realize that's a situation where it's high school students, so emotions are different, et cetera, et cetera. But that book really turned me off for like a related reason, which is this like inability to like not even talk to somebody, but like be a human in front of somebody because you're afraid that they might reject you. And again, that's realistic for a lot of people. And at the same time happens so often in manga that I'm just like looking for another story. It's way more interesting to me if a character is like really confident in that approach. And in fact, I have read some pretty paint by numbers BL yaoi manga where the only difference is that one of them is super confident about it. And like, that goes so much harder for me than this sort of like trope reliant structure that we've got here.
That makes sense. I think, I wonder if because I don't know. I think I tend to internally, like just from my own personal reading of this stuff, I tend to associate a lot of the confusion and about social cues and like, does this actually mean that something has changed or is it still the same? And like, how do we talk about it? And I don't think that it's done especially well here. It's kind of just, we can talk about the writing of this one specifically in more detail, but this general trope, I think, probably, I tend to put a lot of, I tend to put a lot of autism into everything that I read.
Okay. Yeah. So this is what I was going to say is I've seen people write about Sonoo Michiru's like writing and say that like she writes like neurodivergent characters well. And I think that is a valid read and I don't see it in this book.
No, I don't think that it's here, but I definitely have had books that I have read. Even I would say I think Dental Darling, which is another Sonoo Michiru, is two neurodivergent dentists. Like I really do think that one is two neurodivergent dentists who want to have sex.
If we cover it on the show, that is the plot summary. It's two neurodivergent dentists that want to have sex.
Yeah, I don't think I agree with you. I don't think it's happening here.
Yeah,
but that is something that I think I tend to, even when I don't read it in the characters, I think I might be a little bit softer on it just from a personal standpoint because I can see a lot of that. Oh yeah, like this feels very relatable to me. Of like, yeah, it is weird to try and navigate what a relationship is. This could also come from, I'm also demisexual. I'm on the ACE spectrum and I'm autistic. And so I have both of those things stacked up on each other.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yes, this makes sense to me. This is how I feel in my head when I think about anything romance related.
Yeah.
But I also can understand it feeling and a lot of times I've read some where it goes on for so long and it's agonizing. And I think
I will put a book down if it's going to go on for a volume. I'm not interested.
There are some that go on for so long. Oh, I wish I could remember.
It's because it's not even a will they, won't they, right? It's like
no, because
we know they did.
We know they did. We know they did, especially when it is like, yeah, we had sex last night, but like, what are we? It's like, okay, we can from this situation we can extrapolate.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if he's gay. I'm like, he was inside you.
I think it's interesting. This is also one of the things that I enjoy about yaoi, anything, but yaoi is such a specific genre and it is often so reliant on these tropes that I am also always hunting for like, where did this start? And like, what particular need of the reader is it serving? Like, why is this a thing that everybody has latched onto? And is it something that the fan base, like, do people put it in because they think that nobody will read their manga unless it's there? And if so, where does that come from? And I don't know. There's a lot of me with my little clipboard when it comes to yaoi.
I think about this a lot when I because I'm not on like TikTok or Instagram reels, like getting like book recommendations and stuff.
No, I'm totally divorced from that stuff for sure.
It's so popular to hear people talk about tropes that they love and like call them out by name, but also talk about them like as if they are content warnings, which like, yeah, I get, This I
think comes from AO3 to me.
Maybe.
The AO3 tag system, which kind of is that sort of thing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so I think some of that gets put into, it's become popular to talk about like in marketing terms, the tropes that you are putting into your book.
Yes.
So it wouldn't surprise me if people feel like they need that because they are in the genre.
For sure. Yeah. This is reading into it. This is not something I know. It's something I infer from this, but I do wonder if it being Michiru's first manga in the genre explains a little bit how those tropes are used here in such ways as to also feel just like completely superfluous and not actually related to anything that she was interested in when it came to writing the two characters against each other.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I let me say one good thing, actually. This is not the subject I was going to change to, but I do love that this is a relationship built on the admiration and service of the literal sub in this book. Like that is an interesting angle that I think like she could try in another book that has a little bit more meat on the bones that I would actually be really into. This whole idea of like, I've got to make my boss eat his soup because he'll forget. Right. And he has a bad heart. Like that's an interesting angle for a romance that I just don't think gets explored in a way that I enjoy in this book.
Yeah. I think I was really hoping when I heard that this was getting the physical publication that what I originally read was a scanslation the first time that I read it. And I was really hoping like, I bet that an official translation will help this feel a lot more alive, because I certainly think, especially in the first chapter, but throughout it, it's not especially well written as far as dialogue and flow of story. And I was hoping that an official translation would help that. Unfortunately, I don't think it particularly has. I think this first chapter
it's a very good translation.
I don't think it's an especially good translation, but I also do think probably there's issues that exist in the original, considering that like I'm seeing similar issues from the scanslation and from this.
Yeah. That first like 10 pages or so is like kind of hard to follow.
It is.
And I think that is what I'm thinking about when I think of a new mangaka. And bad translation or not, I should be able to follow generally where people are and what's happening in the panels. And I'm not able to in the early parts of this book. I will say, I do think some of that is due to the art style. I promise you, Scott, I did not plan on coming here and trashing every aspect of this book. But I gotta say, I'm not into the art style.
I think that's fair. I think that she has a very specific style that a lot of people aren't that big on. It is very scratchy and very, very works with these very, very thin lines, and is very much looser, I would say, around structure of bodies and face is a lot looser. And also this was an early work of hers. And so I think that even in later works that show more experience, she has a similar feel, but this definitely feels more amateurish in its execution as well, or just like earlier work.
Yeah, I think it's smart to rely on detail and clarity on the things you want a reader to focus on. And she does that really great with like faces of her leads and those kind of things. And honestly, like will draw people in the background in funny ways that really contributes to humor.
Yes.
Right? However, I think that she's not giving some things that are like less important, but like enough detail that really kind of takes me out of it. I think that's why some of those early pages are hard to follow. Like you might see our, lead character, Imamiya, like sitting at a desk, and the desk itself might not be defined very well. The desk might be hard to visually parse. And that's a situation where I'm like, sure, I don't need the desk to be hyper detailed, but I need to understand that it's a desk.
Yeah.
And I think that while it gets better, I find is made it somewhat of a difficult read.
I'm going to say in favor of that slightly, I think your read is completely valid, but I do have to show from an artist perspective an admiration for Michiru's willingness to just go for it, even if she doesn't have that stuff. Like backgrounds especially are something that like my own insecurities about drawing backgrounds are a huge part of why I don't do more comic work like in my own like personal projects, and why I am often stalled every time I go, I'm going to make a comic. A lot of it comes down to backgrounds. So I love the confidence to just be like, fuck it. Perspective, I don't know her.
Yeah. And this is light spoilers, but it's a yaoi. What do you expect? The sex scenes that we do get are just like really undefined. And I could really tell that this was just like, there was interesting things happening there. I want to be clear. There's like it is interesting to have a sex scene that is a little bit more impressionist almost, right? However, it read more like someone who like didn't have confidence in like anatomy or sort of like intimate moments in generally. Or in general. Yeah. I think I'm with you though. I think that there is a kind of confidence in admitting what you don't know. I just kind of think it would have been better for the storytelling of the book if, I don't know, maybe the manga had been paired up with somebody else, to do some of the things that they couldn't do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do want to say this is not my favorite book ever. And it's probably not even that high up on my Fujoshi list.
Yeah.
There's very specific things in particular ways that it's doing stuff that I really like. In fact, I should probably get into that more now.
Because I would love to not be the only one talking about how bad this book is.
I totally think you're right that when it's not breaking conventions, it is clutching the conventions so tightly that the whole book is strangled by it. I think ambiguity is part of the thing that I like about this, in that I am often very compelled by characters who clearly have some shit going on, but aren't saying it out loud. And sometimes that comes through in they're communicating non-verbally about that stuff. I like the ways that Kashiwagi shows an affection for Q in the always making him food, making sure that he is getting sleep when he needs it. All of these things are expressions of affection through the pathways that he has access to before they get through this step into we're dating. And there is a certain quiet quality to that here that I like, where it feels as though there is something going on and both characters are aware of it, but in a way that they don't want to acknowledge it. And I think going on for too long becomes frustrating, but in the early stages of a romance, I like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it also works when there's other things going on in the story, right?
Which I do like some of the weird. This feels like it's what if the West Wing had gay sex in it?
Yeah.
And I like that.
I actually want the mangaka to take another stab at this, right? Where is the political intrigue yaoi?
God, I would kill for a full political intrigue yaoi. That shit would rule.
It's actually I don't want to get too deep into spoilers, but some of the stuff with Q's family and the family business, and I think this is actually pretty early in the book, but you find out he's a relative of the prime minister or the president or something like this.
The prime minister, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And that stuff could be really interesting if you leaned into making that the primary plot, and the yaoi is the secondary plot that becomes the primary plot. Give me bones,
Yes.
I need 10 seasons of these two characters who have a job, so they can't always be confirming what we know to be true. I don't know. I would love that.
Gay Mulder and Scully, if you will.
Exactly. Gay Mulder and Scully. We got to be chasing aliens, and then we can have the gay sex.
We got to be chasing aliens, and then exactly. and the beginning of the book kind of gives that feeling. It's not, again, very sort of chaotic dialogue and monologue stuff, I would say, in this early part. But there's a lot of setup of we are public, we are civil servants, and this is specifically what our job is. And in fact, there's probably too much of it in a way that I'm this is so much information about specifically how the Japanese government is set up that I am totally out of my depth.
Yeah.
But then we get more stuff where it's a lot more just there's the whole thing with Q's stepson and the weird jealousy going on between the stepson and Kashiwagi. I wonder if we got so deep into it that we forgot to say where spoilers are starting. So I should probably
let's just say spoilers start now, and let's throw a spoiler tag in now, and we can get into it.
Okay, this is the spoiler section. So yeah, but and even the other guy that's around all the time, the who also works there but just comes around, and what is his deal? Why is he here?
His deal is that he wants to rub shoulders with the guy that works with him that is family of the prime minister, and he wants the connections. At one point, Q gets a secondary job within the government because he's a relative of the prime minister.
He goes into foreign affairs offers for a temporary position.
Yeah. And like the guy that's been trying to rub shoulders with him, like, is like mad that he's not in the office anymore.
Mm-hmm. But there's always like, it feels like he's also there to be sort of a jealousy springboard for Kashiwagi. Jealousy stuff is one of the particular tropes that I think that one always, I'm just like, we don't have to be here.
I feel two ways about jealousy in these books. One, I agree. I think people jump to jealousy because it's an easy tool. Mm-hmm. I think it's really easy to just like throw a third character in here and be like, and now there's drama. I do think it can be done really well. Mm-hmm. The book Loverboy by ZEC or Zek, I'm not exactly sure. It's all capitals, so I'm not sure if how we're saying that one, has an element of this. This is a story about these two men who have knew each other a long time ago, have reconnected in the present. And in the meantime, the sort of more like assertive and older one has been like having regular sex with a guy that he's not like in a relationship with and never will be in a relationship with, but still is a person he relies on. Right. Mm-hmm. And that leads to some jealousy moments in that story, which is already full of terrible people who are terrible to each other. But I think it works in that particular story because it's not just this pure insecurity by the character who is coded as insecure, right? Mm-hmm. It is introducing new flavors. It is a spice to a story rather than like a fundamental ingredient that is expected to be there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think like anything, I fully believe that. I always hedge my bets with things. I think almost any trope or story beat or cliche can be utilized in ways that are interesting and make me go, whoa, that was actually really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
But a lot of times with jealousy, it also feels so arbitrary. Mm-hmm. And this one feels in that general vicinity when it even feels like a jealousy thing, which again, because the writing is kind of the character work is very sparse. You hardly get anything about either of these two characters outside of very broad strokes. Mm-hmm. And then we get the introduction of Q is a widower and also has a stepson who is like his brother's son, and his brother is dead. So it's actually his nephew, but he's been raised as a son or like treats him like a son. And this guy comes around and for whatever reason, Kashiwagi feels very threatened by him. And I suppose there is like, no, I don't think there is. I don't get any reason why Kashiwagi would feel this about his stepson.
This particular form of jealousy always boggles my mind. And I don't want to get too deep into the real story because I have seen this happen in my life before. And it's always wild to me. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you're not romantically or sexually threatened. So why are you jealous? I don't get it. Add on that I often find that jealousy stories strike me as straight people problems. Mm-hmm. So when we are in a decidedly queer story, I am like always a little bit skeptical of them. This is not to say that you can't live like you can't have a monogamous relationship. That's not what I'm saying. I just, from my own lived experience, have found that straight people are way more obsessed with jealousy and like strict definitions of monogamy than basically any other queer person I've known. And I think that plays into a lot of my like general other feelings about, and this is not just this book, to be clear, this is a lot of books do this, which is there's a lot of like heteronormative, like gender essentialist stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's never egregious. It's never like, it's never trying to define what a woman is or something like that. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But there's a gag in here that I admit is pretty funny of like him imagining Kishiwagi in a dress or Kashiwagi in a dress. Right. It's pretty funny. But that whole scene and the lead up to that it just like has these twinges of gender essentialism and like, what is a man supposed to be or do anyway? That I think sometimes with manga gets chalked up to like, well, that's Japanese culture that I think we could maybe like dig a little deeper on, right? It's not like we don't have those same heteronormative and gender essentialist problems in art from other parts of the world. Yeah. And I think it like harms the story and often harms a lot of romances. Yeah. I always feel like when people talk specifically about some story element being related to the culture that the story comes from, it's like you're almost there, but you're treating it like that's an excuse when it could be an explanation, or it could just be a particular, like the flavor is different, like you've got your beef gender essentialism and your pork gender essentialism, depending on. Yeah, I agree with you. I think when that gets used as an excuse is when I'm like, okay, actually, we're just doing Orientalism now. Like, exactly. Like, this is just thing Japan negative. Which I'm not into. But I think you're right. I think it is fine to say, here is how gender and sex are talked about in these settings in Tokyo. Right? That is an interesting way to have that conversation. I don't know enough about that to say.
Yeah,
but
I was going to say, also a lot of the times that people are asserting these things, they are white people from America.
Exactly. Instead of bothering to entertain that thought, sometimes I'm just like, can't we just say that it's like kind of weird that he's regularly sleeping with a guy and still and like very clearly does not have interest in women and is like still worried about getting a wife? Like that is still like, sure, there's going to be cultural like flavor that could get out of that, but if I don't have that experience, I'm just going to talk about like I do have the experience of being a queer man. Yeah. Right. Like that it feels weird. Like it feels weird to have that pressure. And also like on top of that is that like there's like a strong, and I see this in manga all the time, this idea that you will find a wife at work, right? And like that happens, and it can happen in ways that are not gross and not built on power dynamics. But it seems pretty clear that like everyone in this man's life wants him to find a woman that works for him to marry. Yeah, it's weird. It
is weird. And I think you could, like, there could be something that you could do with that would be interesting if it was, if it was interrogated at all by any of the characters, but it's not. It's just sort of there as a given, and is another one of those instances of, I think, leaning too hard in the conventions of the genre.
Whole time reading this book, though, I was just thinking, man, Love in the Palm of His Hand was such a good book. Like
it's really good.
Like I really did not expect to be thinking about that book, however long it's been since we've read, almost a year later, right? When we read it, I was like, this is pretty good, but it feels like, like an average one. And now the more I think about it, like, I think it might be like pretty top tier BL manga.
It's definitely on the top, like near the top of my list for sure. Especially that first volume is so tight.
Every time I like think about the problems in this and other BL and yaoi manga, or even yuri manga, like between How Do We Relationship and Love in the Palm of His Hand, I'm like, neither of those books would ever have these problems. Like the mangaka would not let it happen. Yeah. Which proves to me that like it's not thing Japan.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly.
Like these stories can be written well and interesting and still have a cultural foundation in Japan.
Yeah, for sure. A couple other things that I like. So there's a small moment that I really like in the simplicity and effectiveness of it. And that is, so Q has a heart attack, essentially, some sort of cardiac event, and is hospitalized. And Kashiwagi goes and visits him and then is leaving and ends up meeting up with some of the other coworkers, and they all get a cab together. And up to this point, Kashiwagi has been completely stoic, entirely like straight-faced, very firm, very much like, sir, you need to do this and that. And all of this, even as he is showing affection through his like making of food and making sure that he's getting his rest and all of this. It's very deadpan. And then you get this one page where it starts out with Kashiwagi stony faced and he remains stony-faced in the next panel, but tears just begin streaming down his face. And
it's very good.
And the people in the background sort of look confused, and then the last one is him just completely broken down, and then his coworkers in the back like, oh my God, what's happening?
Yeah, I do love that. There's like hints that people know what's going on throughout the book. And after this scene, basically all pretense that these two men are not dating, it goes out the window.
Yeah, for sure. And then the other thing that I think is what has stuck with me since I first read this is one of the things that is interesting about the idea of Old Man Yaoi is the way that age affects romance and both a romantic and a physical relationship, and all of the hoops that they go through to make sure that they can have sex safely after Q has a cardiac event and open heart surgery. This is what I want Old Man Yaoi to be. I want it to be this. I want it to be the logistics. I want it to be the weird things that you have to think about when it comes to this kind of thing. And like, his whole thing of like, I'm the medication that I'm taking, I don't know that I'll be able to come. Yeah. Like that stuff is the juice to me.
Yeah, and that it's really, it's so sad that it doesn't happen until like the end. I almost think this is making me think that this book would be better if like chapter 5 was the beginning of it, and it just like went on from there. I also loved this moment. I loved the honesty and just like open conversation about like, are we even allowed to have sex?
Yeah,
like, did your doctor say that you could have sex? Like, am I going to kill you?
Did your doctor say this is safe? Yeah.
And then there's literally only one sex scene in this, if I'm recalling correctly, right? It's like right at the end.
There is one, and then there's like a bonus in the back of my manga. Yeah. There's like a couple of bonuses, and there's another sex scene there, but that's not really that important. There is one sex scene in the main story.
Yeah, it is a culmination, and it is the care that you have seen Kashiwagi take, for Imamiya the whole time, kind of like presenting itself in a new way, which is good. Like, I actually, despite everything I've said, I actually think that these two are pretty compatible and like have an interesting relationship together. Yeah, I just kind of wish we got to see more of the relationship-y stuff.
And for them to be fleshed out a little more, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think about put the pulse oximeter away.
Yes.
A lot. That joke really hits for me.
Man, I am currently on medication for like heart stuff, and it is so real. Like, just like not even sex life, just like normal stuff. Like, I gotta walk up a hill to get home from the grocery store. Like, I'm thinking about that differently now that I'm on this medication than I was, 2 months ago. Like, you have these conversations in parts of your life just because of bodies, which in a romance story is obviously going to have implications. It's cool.
Yeah, maybe this also, not to put everything on my own asexuality as like a reason that this stuff works so well for me. But I do think that I certainly find myself like the things that I find very interesting about sex scenes and sex in general in fiction oftentimes is much more concerned with emotional or physical logistics and more like honest and silly sort of conversations about that stuff is what tends to engage me, and like I find it very charming in a particular way than when a sex scene is just like absolutely 100% perfect, the best sex of your life,
Yeah, I definitely prefer a more realistic scene, which got to talk about heated rivalry for a second. This is why I like heated rivalry so much, because as much as like the sex in that show is like idealized, it is still realistic. And they are having conversations sort of mid-scene that are very honest and real. There is a scene in that show where one of the characters has sex with a woman, and this is a gay man, and they discuss why it didn't work for them. That I was like, oh man, yeah, like I've never been in that situation, but that is a real conversation that a person would have. Or there's several scenes where they're in a hotel room trying to be quiet, and they're talking about like, so-and-so is staying next door, we need to like keep it down. And I'm like, that stuff's real. Like that is, I love I don't know. I mean, I'm not immune to an idealized scenario.
Right, exactly. Sometimes it's fun.
Sometimes it's fun. But it is also fun to see characters be human in interesting ways.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, I almost went down another rabbit hole about intersubjectivity in characters in video games, but that is a thing that I have already written for a video I'm working on, so I'm not going to go down that one.
That's a little preview. Go to flowstate.crit if you want to hear more about that from my friend Matt. Check. I think that's all the stuff I wanted to touch on.
Okay. I don't have anything else to add.
Well, thank you for coming along on this journey with me. I'm sorry that you didn't enjoy it that much, but I always want, listen, sometimes, and this is something that I work through in my own life. I don't enjoy the feeling when I recommend something and it doesn't go over that well, but that's something I'm working on in my heart, because I think that that's a very important part of media and the creation of art, because if art is for everybody, then it's not good art anymore. It has to be, there has to be subjectivity and personal preference in art, or else that's how we end up with slop. We can't do it.
Okay, so I said I wasn't going on the intersubjectivity rant, but I kind of have to, because that leads right into it. So one of the ways that we relate to each other is... the way that we know each other are human is because we have limited perspectives and we understand those limited perspectives. I want to call out that this is directly pulled from a research paper that both Lex and I are reading for a video I'm working on. And Lex had a lot of these ideas, but I've been thinking about it a lot. And when we consume art and we take our different experiences towards that art and we bounce off of it or sort of merge with it or pass through it in different ways and then come to each other and talk about those ways, what we are doing, right, is saying, this is my subjective experience and this is your subjective experience, and connecting that to each other. And that is both what makes the original artifact art to begin with. And it is also the way that we build relationship with each other, right? And build humanity among each other. And I, like you, really struggle when I bring something to the show that one of you's not into, right? But shouts out to Robin. I regularly bring things to the show that Robin's not into. And that has frankly just been training for me to be more confident in how I feel about something. Robin and I have very different tastes. We're going to we both love Witch Hat Atelier, but she's not really ever going to love Angela. And that's okay. I love Angela, right?
I love Angela and I won't apologize.
Yeah, exactly. But also sometimes I bring something and I hear and I get convinced that actually no, that did suck, or actually no, that was good. I wasn't on the Lonely at the Center of the Earth episode. I think some people came into that episode and felt a little more down. And there was a conversation at the end of that where someone was I actually feel like I've grown to like this more. And Robin was yeah, man, that's criticism. That's
criticism. Exactly.
All that to say, it does make me uncomfortable sometimes, but I'm totally down to read stuff I'm not into and then come here and talk about it.
Yeah. That's what's, you have to be able to accept that that it's going to feel a little bit bad, but that's just the act of being a human and interacting with other humans.
Yeah.
That's an important part of existence and having a brain that has thoughts.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
I lost my way a little bit at the end there. I was I don't know what I'm saying anymore. But I think it's about this.
I think we got somewhere.
Further reading?
Sonoo
Michiru has a lot of one-shots, single volume manga like this that focus on similar demographics and topics. She loves some guys who have jobs and want to kiss. It will all
so
be,
I.
Yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother. Matt, I don't know if they would be for you. I don't know. I would have to read them more and think. A lot of them were ones that I read early in my yaoi journey, and so I wasn't as familiar with the tropes that are very, very prevalent across the genre. So it's hard to know how well, if you don't like this one, will you like other Sonoo Michiru stuff? I don't know. But if you did enjoy this at all, then I think you would probably like other Sonoo Michiru stuff.
Yeah.
I like SOS Salt or Sugar. I enjoyed that one a lot. I remember enjoying that one a lot. And I think Dental Darling is pretty fun, even if it has a name that I hate to say. We mentioned this earlier. Love in the Palm of His Hand is the other yaoi manga that we have covered on In Sequence. I stand by that being a really good example of the genre. I love Love in the Palm of His Hand.
Incredible that it's like our second episode.
I know.
Just really, if you're starting from beginning, you're starting on a heater.
Mm-hmm. And then you have some recommendations as well.
Yeah. So I've spent a lot of time digging into yaoi over the past year and a half. And these are some of my favorites. We have Black Blood by Hayate Kuku. I think we've actually talked about that on the show at some point.
We have, yeah, we've mentioned it. It's come up in what we're reading lately, etc.
Yeah. It is a book about a cyborg and the scientist that is both intellectually and sexually interested in him. It is incredible at world building. It's just a little one shot. I wish we got more because the world building that mangaka does in that one volume is so good. And they also do answer, what does a cyborg dick look like? Mm-hmm. They have options.
Yeah, the answer is, what do you want it to?
Wet Sand, which is a manhwa by Doyak. It is about this sort of innocent young guy and the ex-mobster that moves in across the street from his job. It is ruthlessly, it's ruthlessly yaoi, but it is, I think, actually a really great example of a book that relies heavily on tropes, but does something interesting with it.
Cool.
I think that, again, you kind of have your sub, you kind of have your dom, not quite dom, but more aggressive, top-coded character. And you also, and then you have the layer of the sort of mafia on top of that. But then the ways that the two guys interact are pretty similar to other books that I've read, but they are enough of characters on their own that it feels a bit deeper. Yeah. Honestly, this one I'm about to tell you, I think might be my favorite yaoi, which is Loverboy. I've already talked about it, by Zek or ZEC. A book about two men who treat each other just absolutely horribly, but are madly in love and sexually attracted to each other. And then I forget why, but we said something in the show that I was like, I just described, we were talking about Mulder and Scully, but gay.
Oh.
So SHWD, Special Hazardous Waste Disposal by Sonoo N. This is a Yuri manga. I've only read the first volume. I really enjoyed it. I need to go back and read the rest of this book.
That one woman is so square.
She's very square.
This is the thing that I remember from seeing panels from that one.
Yeah. Also, I think the cover of volume 1 has a woman on that cover that is just her proportions are wild, and not in a way that you're like, this was clearly written for teenage boys or drawn for teenage boys or something. No,
it's for a very specific,
kind of lesbian.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very specific kind of lesbian that wants a woman to look like this.
Yeah. Very, very cool book. Doing really interesting things, right? The romance is there, but the plot is very much this X-Files kind of thing. They're basically alien cops for this weird phenomenon happening on Earth. It's a fun read.
Hell yeah.
Oh, and does jealousy really well, actually, too.
Ooh, good to know. As far as finding this book, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Manga Planet has closed its digital edition storefront. You can find this floating around online if you're industrious. Otherwise, it's Kinokuniya for you. Go to Kinokuniya.
Or if you know how to read Japanese, I'm sure it's available in Japan somewhere.
Yes, for sure. You probably won't find this at your local library, considering it has gay sex in it, but maybe. I don't know. But it was a shrink-wrapped one, so you might not find it there. But always worth supporting it, as well as your local bookstore and comic shop. They need your support. The next episode that we are recording is going to be Run Away With Me Girl by Batan. This is a manga famous, speaking of my local library, famous with me personally for being one that I saw for months on my local library's manga shelf. And I always saw it and I was like, hey, nice. I got Yuri at my local library.
I'm excited to read this one. We were looking for gay things to read.
Yes. Happy Pride Month, everybody.
Happy Pride Month. It is June 2nd, the day that Scout and I are recording this.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked this one off of our list. I think Robin had suggested it.
Yeah, I believe Robin had suggested it. Yeah, I read it last year. I'm excited to read it again and organize my thoughts about it. In Sequence is a member of The Worst Garbage. You can find us at theworstgarbage.online. Panelist, do you have anything to plug today?
As always, you can go to matthorton.live and find my work, or youtube.com/@flowstatecrit. The former should have the link to the other one.
You can find me online on Blue Sky and Tumblr at HumbleGoat. You can see the art that I do, including our podcast cover art at scoutwilkinson.myportfolio.com. And maybe one day I will even write a blog post again. And if I do, you can find that on my coffee page, ko-fi.com/HumbleGoat. It will happen. If I say it enough times in the outro of this episode of this podcast, it will happen.
You have written some blog posts since you started saying it, so.
I did. I wrote a couple, and then I kept saying, I'm going to do this more often. I'm going to write another one. And then I haven't, but I have plans to. Thank you for listening. Remember, as always, to support your local library and comic shop and indulge in the tropes that you like. And don't worry about the ones that you don't.
I agree. That's good advice.
TWG, The Worst Garbage, online.